Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from AnthonysCustoms, and for this review we are looking at the McFarlane Halo 5 Series 2 Spartan HELLJUMPer. This is a repaint of Spartan Buck, and he comes with an SMG and the Energy Sword. Now this is part of the last batch of figures from McFarlane for Halo. Everything going forward in terms of action figures is going to be handled by Mattel. So if you guys like these figures, it's going to be kind of sad for you. If you don't, it might be a good thing for me. I'm pretty positive about the change, and I'll explain why as we go through this figure. So let's get him off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands roughly 5 3/4 inches tall, which makes him just about 14.5 centimeters. So it's got some decent size to him, but it's not quite in scale with anything else. That's one of the reasons I'm not so worried about McFarlane losing the license. And then the other reason is the general quality of these figures. For the most part, they look good, but the articulation is incredibly limited, and the paintwork is generally pretty spotty. If you'll notice, if you look up here, yeah, there's a decent amount of paintwork on there, but it's not supposed to look battle damaged. But it does, because the paintwork is just really sloppy. It doesn't look terrible, so if you're collecting the McFarlane figures, go ahead and pick it up and it'll look nice in your collection, but it's just generally not the best executed line of figures. The visor on this guy is a nice metallic gold. I definitely hope Mattel can go to a vacuum chrome, but I don't know about that, so we'll see. But it does look good. It's kind of like a goldish, bronzish, brassish color, so it looks okay, and the paintwork generally is okay. It's not great, it's not terrible, it's just okay. Sculpt Work now is a different issue because they have really nice sculpts because they're using the in-game assets. So all they're basically doing is taking the wireframe and adding articulation to it. So the Sculpt Work is pretty darn good. His chest does seem a little bit flat to me though. Doesn't really look like there's much going on there, but still pretty nicely done. As far as articulation goes, we have a double ball peg for the head, so you can move the head around pretty well, and his armor allows for a decent range of motion, so that's pretty good. The shoulders, on the other hand, they're a fixed ball hinge, so they peg into the torso, so that's where you get your rotation, but you have no bicep swivel or anything there, so you basically have a hinge and a rotation. Now, the sculpt does not afford any range of motion really at all. You can barely bring the arm forward without it sticking all the way out to the side, and as far as the hinge goes, that's about it. It has like a 15-degree range of motion, which is not very good, and I'm probably being generous there. So it's very, very limited. Now we have what is effectively a ball hinge for the elbow, so we have the hinge, and it'll rotate at the bicep and at the forearm. So you do get some range there, and you do get about 90 degrees, so that's good. It's better than most of the McFarlane figures, but it's still, again, it's fairly limited. And then you have the same type of joint again for the wrist, it's just a little bit smaller, so you can move the hands around fairly well. For the torso, it's a double ball peg, or at least a single ball peg. I can't say for sure, I haven't popped one of these ones apart yet, but it's at least a single ball peg. You get a little bit back, a little bit forward, a little bit side to side, and you get your rotation out of it. That's it for the torso. No more articulation. For the hips, we have a double ball peg, which, if you guys are familiar with the line, is incredibly limited. The hips have almost no lateral movement, just a little bit, nothing really effective. That's it. And then moving the legs forward is also basically impossible. You get, again, almost zero range. You do get a little bit of rotation out of it, and that's it. The knees have a fixed hinge just like the shoulder, so they rotate at the thigh, which is pretty much useless, and you get again, very limited knee articulation. Even the places where they could have added articulation, or added range of motion, they really didn't. These figures are so just phoned in at this point. I'm very happy to see McFarlane lose the license. For the ankles, we have the same type of joint as the wrist. The only real limitation on this articulation is the sculpt, so I can let it get away. Plus, they have a pretty decent range. If you rotate it around just right, you can get an ankle rocker out of it, so that's pretty good. And then the toe is on a double ball peg, so it has a little bit of range to it, but not a whole lot. One thing I noticed on this particular mold is that he's very knock-kneed. There's nothing you can really do about that, so that's also pretty irritating. It's going to look okay once you get it into a pose, but for the most part, nothing was really executed very well on this guy. to the point where even his nice accessories like this SMG, which does have the weapons peg so you can put it on his back and that'll come out if you want it to, he can't hold his weapon because the fingers are sculpted like all of the other Halo 5 figures in a solid gripping hand. And this obviously has a trigger and trigger guard, so you cannot get it in his hand without modifying the figure. Same thing for the energy sword. Nice as this is with the translucent plastic, it also has a removable peg, which is pretty pointless because you can't put that on the figure like that. It's not how it works. He can't hold that either, so it's just like he really didn't care about this line. And by he, I mean Todd McFarlane, but it's really not him making the decisions, I guess. Whoever's in charge, they don't care. So I'm very happy that this line is done. It's a decent figure if you're collecting the line. If you're not, it's an easy pass. I'll leave the judgment up to you. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my upcoming figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.